At 2:47 a.m., Zaid was staring at the cracked ceiling of his small rented room. Sleep refused to come, not because he wasn't tired, but because his mind kept repeating the same frightening question again and again. What will happen tomorrow? On the small table beside his bed was his wallet. He already knew what was inside, but he opened it anyway. $3. That was all the money he had left in the world. His rent was due in 2 days. His phone bill had already passed the deadline. Earlier that evening, his mother had called and asked a question that made his chest tighten. "Beta, did you send the money this month?" Zaid had lied. "Yes, Mom, I sent it." But the truth was painful. He didn't even have enough money to buy dinner. He closed the wallet and sighed. 3 years ago, life looked very different. He had a stable job, a routine, and just enough confidence to believe his future was secure. Then the company shut down. One meeting, one sentence. "We're sorry, but we have to let you go." At first, he thought it was temporary. A few weeks, maybe a month, but weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. 17 interviews. 17 polite rejections. "We'll call you." Those 3 words slowly destroyed something inside him. Friends stopped asking about his job search. Relatives stopped inviting him to gatherings because they didn't know what to say anymore. Even shopkeepers in his neighborhood started treating him differently. Zaid had discovered something painful about the world. When you have money, people listen. When you don't, your voice becomes quieter. The next morning, he walked through the crowded streets toward another interview. His stomach was empty, but he ignored the hunger. Hope, even a small one, was enough to keep him moving. The interview lasted only 15 minutes. At the end, the manager smiled politely and said the same sentence Zaid hated hearing. "We'll call you." Zaid walked out of the building feeling numb. He sat on a bench outside and watched people pass by in expensive suits talking about meetings and business deals. For the first time, a dangerous thought crossed his mind. Maybe I should stop trying. On his way home, he passed a large supermarket. As he stood outside, a man in an expensive suit walked out talking on his phone. When the man pulled his car keys from his pocket, a $20 bill slipped out and fell near Zaid's shoe. The man didn't notice. Zaid looked down at the money. $20. His heart started beating faster. With that money, he could buy food, maybe even survive a few days. His mind whispered something dangerous. "Just take it." Slowly, he bent down and picked up the bill. But just as he straightened up, the man suddenly turned around. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Zaid felt heat rush to his face. He held out the bill. "I think this fell from your pocket," he said quietly. The man looked at the money, then back at Zaid. "Were you going to keep it?" he asked calmly. Zaid hesitated. He could lie, but instead, he shook his head. "I thought about it," he admitted. "I haven't eaten since yesterday. I only have $3 left." The man studied his face for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He pushed Zaid's hand back. "Keep it," he said. Zaid blinked in confusion. "No, sir, it's yours." The man smiled. "I know, but you didn't run. That tells me something about you." He introduced himself as Farhan and asked Zaid a few questions about his life. Zaid told him about the job losses, the endless interviews, and the pressure of supporting his family. Farhan listened carefully. Then he said something strange. "Get in the car." Curiosity won over doubt, and Zaid followed him. 15 minutes later, they stopped in front of a large modern office building. Inside were cameras, computers, and creative teams working on media projects. Farhan explained that his company created stories and videos that inspired millions of people. Then he looked directly at Zaid. "People today feel lost," he said. "They're worried about money, respect, and the future. They need stories that remind them not to give up." He slid a notebook across the table. "Write one story," Farhan said. "Write about what it feels like when a man has only $3 left in his wallet." Zaid stared at the blank pages. For a moment, doubt returned. But then he remembered the sleepless nights, the hunger, and the fear he had been carrying for years. So he started writing. He wrote about waking up every morning with anxiety. He wrote about the embarrassment of rejection and the loneliness of struggling silently. He wrote about how the world treats people differently when they lose their income. Most importantly, he wrote honestly. 2 hours later, the notebook was filled. Farhan returned to the room and began reading. The silence felt endless. Finally, he closed the notebook and looked at Zaid. "You know what the biggest problem today is?" Farhan said, "People think they are struggling alone." He tapped the notebook. "But millions feel exactly what you wrote here." Then he smiled. "Welcome to the team." Zaid stared at him in disbelief. Just a day before, he'd been sitting in his small room with $3, convinced his life was over. Now, he was standing in an office with a job offer and a new direction. At that moment, he realized something powerful. Life doesn't always change because of huge miracles. Sometimes it changes because of one small decision. If he had taken that $20 bill and walked away, he would never have met Farhan. He would never have entered that building. And he would never have discovered a new path. Sometimes the moment you feel closest to giving up is the exact moment your real story is about to begin.